You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
Heidi-ho, and welcome to Comics with My Kids, the official podcast for the comicscornerbox.blogspot.com. I'm your host, Matt D, and with me today is...
Melody D.
All right, and tonight's episode, we are talking about Diana and Nubia, Princesses of the Amazons, written by Shannon Hale and Dean Hale, drawn by Victoria Ying. This is a sequel to the Diana, Princess of the Amazons. So, Melody, do you remember Diana and the Princess of the Amazons?
Yes, I do. In fact, I remember reading it with all the cool and fun facts about the things she does.
Yep. So, can you give us a summary of this story, the sequel? And don't worry about spoilers. This book has been out for a while, so don't worry about, giving away anything.
Okay. So, although people that wouldn't have read this book would have spoilers. But anyways, so to have a quick summary of it, Nubia and Diana originally live in two different dimensions until with those both dimensions, they're supposed to be sisters, so I'm just going to call them the sisters. The two sisters, they're both in their singular worlds, but then they go and they wish to not be alone. So, when that happens, when they both go back to bed, the next morning they wake up in the same dimension. Only the moms remember it, though. Which is the funny part, like, how would it exist if only the moms knew?
Oh, wait, the moms know that it was always one dimension?
The moms knew it was always one dimension.
Okay.
But the two sisters were confused because they thought, wait a minute, I'm the only princess. But no, I am. So they got really confused. So this story is about them going on adventures together and trying to figure out a bunch of things like, why are our dimensions together? Well, when they find out Hera is a real person and Hera's the one that grants wishes in this. When she granted their wish, their dimensions were put together. Hera had not wanted to split them again unless they had brought something. So it was about them going on adventures of gathering gifts for her.
What was so special about the gifts, though?
It was the things that they have never noticed are actually what they did together. Like a photo of the entire family without them knowing they're actually sisters.
Okay.
And so when it goes on about that, when they're finally finished and they get all their gifts to bring back to Hera, then they don't want to be split because they had realized their entire trip was them being together, and they thought it was good to no longer be alone. So then, with that being what they wished for, Hera couldn't grant a wish, so since they weren't split apart, she had sounded hounds to rip them apart. But they had fought back with some staffs that they had found in the cave. They went one at a time, but then realized if they both went together, that would work. So they had beat them. So then, once they fought them off, everything goes back to normal, but instead with them in the same dimension. So then, once they go back home, their mom realizes this stuff's missing, but they apologized and told the parents everything about it.
Gotcha. So from now on, Diana and Nubia are sisters in this dimension together?
Yes.
Cool.
And I'm hoping for there to be a third book. But my question would be, if there is a third book, what would it be about? Would they have a third sister? Because this one was about them having each other as sisters?
Good question.
Or would it be about them adventuring together more often?
What would you like to see? Would you like to see them adventuring together, or would you like to see a third sister get involved?
I'd want to see if, like, how many sisters do they truly have if there are many dimensions? So if there are more than 2 sisters, what would happen? Would they be traveling around together and trying to get their sisters back to see how many they truly have? Or would they just stick to adventuring around?
Good question. What did you think about the opening of the book?
I thought it was pretty interesting because I was thinking at first, because it just was talking about Nubia at first. Well, I was starting to think, well, what about Diana? Diana. My bad. Sorry, I know Diana. So, what happened to Diana? Well, then when they started talking about her, I got confused, like, wait, what's what? Until then, when I read the rest of the book, I had realized the fact that they're 2 different dimensions, but as sisters.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat that they started off with Nubia. Because obviously the first book is all about Princess Diana. And suddenly you get this book and it starts off with Princess Nubia, and you're thinking, wait a minute, this isn't the girl that grows up to be the Wonder Woman that we know.
Yes.
But sure enough, it's an interesting twist that they threw in at the beginning of the book.
Yep. Which kind of got me confusing at the front, like, before I had got to the part with Diana in it, when I was just there, I was like, well, wait a minute, what's going on with the story? Where's Diana? And where's everyone else?
Yep. So what do you think about the 2 worlds merging? What did you think when that happened?
I thought it was pretty cool, like, also how they were kind of curious, like, how this could happen.
Yeah.
I was also pretty curious, like, if they didn't wish for if they wished for opposite things, what would happen?
Good question.
If one wished to have a friend, and then the other one wished that they had, and the other one had wished that they become a great warrior. Would that mean they would be sisters, but both as great warriors?
Or would they still be in separate dimensions?
Mm.
Pretty interesting. So, what would you do if you woke up one morning to find you suddenly had a twin sister?
I'd figure it was a dream and try to wake myself up by hitting myself in the head with a pillow. Well, I'd probably just be, like, reacting until you guys probably found it out. Like, I don't know what's going on. What is going on?
I did think it was neat that Nubia immediately thought that her twin sister, was like a trickster or some kind of, like, goddess that was playing a practical joke on her. And that it took that long for them to figure out that, oh, wait, no, we apparently really are sisters. And I also liked how they developed a friendship over their little adventure.
That was the best part.
So, now that you've been introduced to Nubia, which princess do you like more? Do you like Nubia or Diana, or do you like them both equally? What do you think of the 2 characters?
I think it'd be kind of equal because they're like kind of the same person, but instead with different hair colors and skin colors, and, like, they do different things, kind of.
Yeah, they do have different personalities, but yeah, they do seem as though they're very similar.
Yes.
So what part of the story did you think was the most fun?
Probably their adventures. I like all the adventures they have, especially when they went to that one tree that had the funny fruit on it.
Uh-huh.
I thought that was pretty cool how they had, like, fought a kraken and braided it. That was pretty cool. And then they had also got the fruit, and it floats. Like, what fruit floats? Do all fruits float?
There's a lot of fruits that float.
Any fruit I use to try and float, it sinks. No. Like a rock.
Let's see. So the story opens up, and you really didn't mention it, but there's a festival going on Themyscira, and it's the solstice trials.
Solstice trials.
What did you think about those?
I thought they were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very different.
So if you were a little older and you lived with the Amazons, would you want to participate in the solstice trials?
Yeah.
Yeah. They look kind of dangerous. but they also look pretty neat. So the girls were tasked with having to prepare and decorate for the solstice trials.
Yes.
And they each came up with unique ways of decorating. What did you think of the ways they chose?
I thought it was very interesting. Dad, I can hear you clicking.
Okay.
No, we could just technically record this 2 ways. Anyways, there's not really much more to talk about it. I like the adventures most.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. So what do you think of the artwork?
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the different textures and stuff. But mostly I think it's funny how we're looking at a thing with paintings and we see paintings.
Mm-hmm. What about the style itself? Did you think it looked a lot like any other comic books that you've read?
Kind of does remind me of a couple of comic books I've read, other than just Princess Diana of the Amazon.
Okay, what other books did it kind of remind you of?
Well, when I was reading My Little Pony, it kind of reminded me of it because it has same amount of pictures and stuff.
They have that same kind of cartoonish look to it? Or?
Yeah, same kind of cartoonish.
Okay.
Everything. So I think that's cool.
Don't worry, I'll take care of that later. So is there anything that you would want to change about this book?
Not really. I think it's a fun book.
Yeah. So what do you think about Diana and Nubia? Do you think that they're really good sisters to each other?
In the beginning, no. Towards the ending, yes. In the middle, kind of.
So they really developed a friendship.
So it's no, medium, yes.
No medium, yes, huh?
Yeah, because they're not treating each other very nicely in the middle, but they're not treating them badly either. So
gotcha.
I think it'd be kind of in the middle. Middle.
Is there any lessons to be learned from this story?
I'd have to reread it real quick. I'm looking at the pictures, but I don't remember.
Well, I would think that the lesson here is that no matter what life brings you,
always work with it.
Well, I say you can always find friendship.
Just deal with it.
You can always find friendship around the corner, whether it's a sibling or a friend.
Friendship.
And you really shouldn't judge a person by how they look. Once you get to know them, you might discover that you might have a friend for life. Now, Mel, we have a rating we call buy, borrow, or bust. So just to remind you, buy would be you really like this book, you would read it again and again and again, and we should go out and buy it. Borrow, you kind of liked it, it was okay, but just getting it from the library or borrowing it from a digital copy from Hoopla,
or any other app you have that works.
Or then there's bust, which is basically forget about it, it's not worth reading it. It's just wait until something else comes out, or you're forced to read it through some kind of homework assignment. Yeah.
That would be a pretty interesting homework assignment. So I definitely say buy. And if you got this for a homework assignment, definitely take time to enjoy it because it is a fun story.
Gotcha. Well, and
enjoy it in general.
Yep. I also think it's a buy. I think it's well worth the money. It's definitely a story you can read over and over again. Any kid would like it from the age of, say, 6 on up.
Yep.
And the artwork is really good. The moral of the story is great, and it definitely talks about friendship and sisterhood and just being kind to one another.
If you couldn't read and you looked at the pictures, it'd pretty much give you a pretty good detail of what's going on. So it's kind of like that part too.
Yep. All right, Mel. Was there anything else you want to add about Diana and Nubia, the princesses of the Amazons?
There's not really much more to talk about, so no.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to Comics with My Kids, our cover of Diana and Nubia, the princesses of the Amazons.
You wrote it backwards.
I believe it was Diana and Nubia.
Yo. Okay. You wrote Nubia and Diana.
So. Well.
Anyways.
if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out our other podcasts at thecomicscornerbox.blogspot.com, or check out our Facebook page at Comics With My Kids, or follow us on Twitter at Comics With My Kids. We try to put up at least 2 to 3 episodes every month, so stick around and listen to some old ones, and you can always look forward to future episodes where we'll cover another comic book for the whole family. I've been Matt D.
And I'm Melody D.
Thank you for listening, and have a great night.
Goodbye. Or great day, depending on when you're listening.
Yes.
Have a good evening.